Huzzah!
Huzzah! Oh my god. How are the kids today?
I didn't have the kids today. It was just it was a 3-day camp, and also this is going to
Oh,
come out 2 weeks after the other one. So it's
that's all right. So does that mean you had like an actual day off?
kind of. I actually went and met up with one of my adjunct friends. He's teaching another class again in that he hasn't done in like 10 years,
Oh
and
god.
it's like a it's our math 098, so it's like the equivalent of like ninth grade math
Yeah.
for our community college students. And we were trying to talk about ways to kind of help engage students. And so,
Fun.
I mean, I don't want to get too close to our topic in our beginning of the episode, but I actually like talked with him a lot about trying to like introduce some gaming stuff as well.
That's fun. So
Yeah.
I had the we I had trial again today and the both sides rested and so we are in deliberations now and I would like to reiterate that I never want my text messages read aloud. Um
Mhm.
and so like just without disclosing anything, like if if for instance I had you saved as like Uncle Ben's rice or something in my phone and for whatever reason my text messages had to be read aloud in a court of law, there would be a lawyer who referred to you as Uncle Ben, and the prosecution would also refer to you as Uncle Ben, and they would just talk about you like your name was Uncle Ben. And then the jury, when they are reviewing those text messages in deliberation, would also call you Uncle Ben. And knowing that has made me reconsider the way I have some people named in my phone, I would like to say.
Now I'm very curious about how you have people saved in your phone.
So, back when I was on dating apps, like,
Um,
yeah, right? Like, I
that'll
probably,
do it.
right? That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like, if someone had like there was a guy that I very, very briefly talked to who saved in my phone as Chris Gingerbeard. Like, that exists. So
Oh
I need to
boy.
do some cleaning out. This has really caused me to reflect. And then the worst part of jury duty today was that just before it was announced who were the alternates on the jury, one of the girls who was the alternate announced to the group that during our lunch recess, she had bought candy for everyone. So don't worry about it. She brought the sugar. And then the judge announced that she was an alternate. And she and all of her sugar went down the hall with the other alternate. And we were left with the day old donuts in the jury deliberation room.
Oh, that's so sad.
Justice was not served. Literally, justice was not served. We have to go back and start deliberating again tomorrow. But
Yeah.
yeah, but the trial itself is wrapped up, so that's something.
Yeah, that means you'll be done soon.
Hopefully tomorrow, we'll see. Um, fun. Welcome to Coffee Break Classroom, brewed for higher ed, where teaching meets good vibes. We're just two friends chopping it up. Here you can expect a blend of ridiculous classroom stories, a little educational research, and some practical teaching techniques. So a trial is actually, incidentally, I suppose, a form of play. You could make it a form of play in the classroom.
Okay.
Right? Like you could act out
I,
roles and
I
stuff like
can
that.
I can see that. I mean, I'm curious what you would want to put on trial to.
I think you could really be creative with it. We don't teach super duper creative topics, but like you could.
Yeah, you know what? Let's get into that on this episode of Coffee Break Classroom.
We're brewed for higher ed, folks, and today we're talking about play. So, in our last episode, we talked to Ben mostly about some work that he had done about slowing down and doing less stuff in the classroom, but with more depth. And
Yeah.
I think one of the takeaways for me was that, and I think this is also you and I, our personalities, that we don't necessarily take ourselves super seriously. Would you say that's correct?
I would say that's fair.
When one of my daughters found out that I was selected for jury duty, she said, "Mom, you cannot do this. You are too unserious." And I think, I mean, I've proven her wrong, but I get where she's coming from.
Okay, that's good to know that you've proven her wrong.
I
So,
have indeed proven her wrong. But yeah, I think that, so I started teaching at community college at a very young age. I think I was 24.
okay.
And I had students in that class who were 27 at the time. I distinctly remember. And
Yeah.
that's like surreal. And so there's like imposter syndrome that goes on there. And there's also, I think for myself anyway, there was a desire to kind of be the person in charge. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And we used to be, so in the last 21 years, the world has changed significantly. When I first started here, I don't know if you know this, our vice president did not allow women to wear jeans to work. Did you know that?
I have actually heard about this. Yes, because I remember talking with some of our union people last year, and that was the thing that activated them.
It's true. Um, so Jessica, who's my chair now, specifically was spoken to because that vice president said, "You're a young woman," and she was, "and people will not take you seriously if you wear jeans to work," which is a wild thing to think about in the year of our Lord 2025. But that happened. So,
Yeah. I was gonna ask, like, so you when you say you said when you started that you felt like it was you had to like be serious, is what you're
yes.
saying. Was there a spot where you just kind of gave that up? Like like at what point in your career were you just like, you know what?
I don't want to say it's when I was not so young, but but it did happen over time. I don't know. At some point, I think I've always been more relaxed,
Mm,
but I became markedly more relaxed. I don't remember if there was like an incident. I think I used to co-advise a geology club, and so students would get to see us in very unserious moments. Like we would be
yeah.
camping, for example, and we would be sitting around a fire at night, and there's something about seeing your teacher in her PJs getting into a tent that that's funny. It's funny, and you're
Yeah.
like, I'm a real
Yeah.
person. And so at some point, I realized that I could be fully myself or more fully myself.
Hmm.
And I think I've definitely become more fully myself at work over time, which is a privilege that not everyone gets for sure. But yeah, so I started realizing that my classrooms looked a lot different than a lot of my colleagues. Have you ever had anything like that?
Hmm. All the time. I mean, I feel like I came in like that. Just like having had that background in education research, like I feel like there's a lot more conversation that had happened in my classrooms. And I think things really evolved quickly for me as I got my feet under me
Yeah.
with classes rather than starting with that like 3 days notice, here you go. But I think my office hours have always looked really different
Mm-hmm.
than other folks' office hours, where I have like 10 students that are there just working on things and coming to kind of be in that space with me. So I've noticed that as well in my classrooms.
Yeah. When I was hired, Jessica and I were the only two women in the geosciences, and there were many more geoscientists. It was a bigger department for sure, and I remember one of our colleagues. There were a lot of old men, old white men, which is shocking in higher education to have a lot. But 20 years ago, there were a lot more old white men in higher ed. And I remember I had one come and observe my class. And I had a student, and he took out something that looked like a child's toy, but it was a musical instrument. And it was before class. Like, everything happened fine in class. But he took out, it's called a melodica, and like half of it looks like a little tiny piano. It's probably like, I don't know, 14 inches in length. But it also has like an end that you put in your mouth and you play like a kazoo or a whistle. And
Okay.
he never had it before, but of course it's my observation day, and bro just takes it out of his backpack and he's just playing it. And in the back of the classroom is my chair, who is looking at me like, what on the earth happens in your class? And I was like, I don't know, it just happened today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very funny.
But I think that even like our older classrooms now, I think were designed for a different time. They were designed for a
Mm-hmm.
time when students sat in rows and desks that didn't move, and they took notes and they did math problems at their chairs. And, you know, if you were really an active learning teacher, you had students go to the board. And
Mm-hmm.
I think now classes look so much messier. I think my classes look so much messier, and I
Yes.
think it's awesome.
Yeah, mine too. Like that reminds me of the slide that I had at the end of my talk from the last episode, which was just like I just a guy sitting in the middle of a room and there's like students and just chaos all around him and he's just like crossing his arms, smiling like that went exactly how I wanted it to. Just like even though it's like pure chaos, right?
Yes,
Just like
yes,
yeah, it's messy. We embrace the mess because I
yes.
think the thing for me, which like I think I probably had a year of like trying to be serious, but part of it for me is that it's just not about me. Like what I do in the classroom is not about me, so I try and be as like approachable as possible.
So, several years ago, I redesigned one of my courses to infuse active learning throughout. And
Hmm.
I think active learning is a great idea. And I think properly employed absolutely improves the student experience in the classroom. But I kept seeing that there were students who reluctantly participated in active learning or sometimes just didn't at all. And I struggled with a lot about why. I think what I need, and so obviously still do a ton of active learning in my class, but I think you have to work hard to create an environment where more students want to participate in that.
Yep.
And so I think there's things that can confound active learning. I think the power dynamics in a classroom, like
Hmm.
regardless of how approachable you make yourself seem, you are still a teacher who gives the grade at the end of the day, right?
Yeah. This is what I was actually talking with my friend about today because I was telling him, I'm like, you have to find something to do day one that's not content that
Mm-hmm.
like get students to talk to each other and feel comfortable in your classroom environment, but also like removes you from the picture. Like
Yes.
because like I was talking to him about like let's try and create a game
Yeah.
like do a board game like instead of spending a whole day just reviewing all the concept that they should know already by the time that they're walking into your classroom, like I was like let's turn it into a trivia game like
Yeah.
Amanda did. So do you want to talk about like the game that you had for this talk?
Yes. Sure. So, what's funny about this game is that it took much longer than it was supposed to during my hour-long talk, but I kind of just went with it, which is, I think, an important part of infusing play into your classroom. So, a few years ago, I created some really just general game boards, like in the vein of Candyland, where every there was a trail, and the trail had different colors, and then you had questions, you had cards that connected to those colors, and you had a spinner, right?
Which is maybe more like Trivial Pursuit. It's like anyone.
It's a nice blend because you're not
That's
accruing
fair. That's
wedges.
fair.
There's just a start and an end, and that's it.
No, okay.
And I made the board game just with like a single PowerPoint slide. Like, I found a fun background, and then I made the
Hmm.
trail, right? And I put little geology related pictures along it. And then the fun thing is that you can just change the trivia cards depending on the unit that you're working on in school. So like I could do it on like you could do one for each unit. You could do one for your labs. Like it's once you have the board and the piece. Oh my god! And the pieces were rocks and like fossils, so that was fun. But like it's wildly interchangeable. So I did this with some of our colleagues and I made rules and I made the rules fun. Like I did something ridiculous in the rules. Like I didn't know who was coming to my talk. I knew that there were like 30 people who were coming. And so if I had it to do over, I would make them work in pairs. Because it turns out our colleagues were not as good at the trivia as I thought they would be. But I like I made a special rule like we work with this man who I love dearly named Bill Drumright. And in the rules, it was like, if you're Bill Drumright, you get to go first. Otherwise, the person who's been working here the shortest period of time gets to go first. And then you go counterclockwise. And then, like, there were rules like if you spin and you get the question right, you can go again one more time. But that's it, unless you're Bill Drumright. And then you just get to keep going because you're Bill Drumright. And Bill Drumright was not there. So, but still, he is near and dear to my heart. So anyway, so I let them do this and like the room was like at capacity and it was not set up ideally for a board game at all. They were like these sloped desks. But it was what it was. But it was go ahead. Oh,
no, I was just gonna say they like it was impossible to move too once like people had turned their desks around to all face each other. It was a mess, but it worked, right? Somebody held the game board and somebody held the bucket of rocks.
You know what? It all worked out. So anyway, I let them go, and it was only supposed to take 20 minutes, and it took 40. So the actual like teaching part of it was much faster than I wanted it to be, but it was fine. It actually turned out well, because and here's the part of the point of like why you do play because and I had to define the word play, which was really funny because it's like defining
Merriam-Webster's dictionary defines play as a noun or a verb. I don't know.
I read a few articles and I made my own version of play, and I said that this is Amanda Colosimo's definition of play. It is it is a non-serious activity engaged in for satisfaction that helps a person I can't almost not read this. Achieve mastery in certain skills that are useful in your environment. So,
okay.
And the certain skills, they don't have to be academic skills. They could be teamwork. They could be leadership. Like, how many students do you have in your class who aren't necessarily the strongest students, but like you take out a board game and they're competitive and they're excited. So yeah, I think that. Oh my God. And so people had like a fantastic time and I gave prizes and the prizes were ridiculous. There was like squirt guns and giant bubbles and stuff like that. When I was talking to my friend about this today, it's like, I've tried doing like trivia and like Jeopardy and stuff with my students and like, they just don't engage with it. And I was like, that's because you don't have prizes. Exactly. I'm like, I'm just guessing, but I'm assuming you don't have prizes that you're giving them, so they're not getting competitive about it. I'm like, if you just have a sticky hand, like if you just buy some sticky hands, like the students will go nuts for sticky hands, and like you will have them engaged and like there. Just like okay, you know. So I literally went to the dollar section of Walmart or not Walmart, Target, where you first walk in, and I just bought things that looked fun. They were fun and seasonal. And people have kids and people have grandkids, and so they played for that. But honestly, like, I think students would have fun with squirt guns too. So like, whatever. And it was really good. Like, I thought that it was super positive. We did this workshop at the end of the year, and I thought people were fried when they came in. And I think that's part of the point of play is that it creates, oh my God, there was this great quote that I'm going to find, but it creates joy. It like temporary joy. And I think that's part of the reason that students don't engage in active learning is because they know it's still work. Like, play is supposed to be fun. I think students don't. And they forget. You can get them to the point where they forget that they're actually like doing work for you. Yes. I think everyone's coming to school. Not everyone, but a lot of people come to school with anxiety, with stress. Not everyone feels like they belong in a classroom, and so it's hard to feel like you're not belonging. Like when you're like present and engaged and like fully, I think engaged, I think is the right word.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, or like they fear failure, they feel looking foolish, but like when everyone is looking foolish and everyone is just, I don't know, being full human beings, which I think is
Yeah.
part of what's missing from
And
learning.
if you're even if you're not doing anything during the game, like students are gonna remember you and like associate that like part with you and feel more comfortable like just having and want to come back to you as
Yes.
an instructor, even because you got that vibe now, right?
Right.
Like I
Yes.
bought sticky hands and you get to have some sticky hands and they're like, do you see us?
I think it is an investment. I think anytime you spend
Yeah.
time building community in the classroom, having fun in the classroom, making yourself not look like this like super important figurehead, but
Hmm.
like a relatable human, I think you're investing time, but what you get back is like dedication, willingness to keep working, like loyalty, like they're
Hmm.
investing in each other, they're investing in you, like
Hmm.
it is, it's a different form of engagement than, I don't know, than doing a worksheet together, for example. I don't know.
Oh, I was gonna say I don't want to like jump the gun on anything that you're
No,
going to be
jump
talking
in.
about. So, but I was inspired by like the board game that you did, and I was trying to convince my friend that he should do that on like day one of his
Yes.
like elementary algebra class, and then I was just like, why don't I do this? Like, because I like
Yes.
by the I get multiple classes where students have me, and like I always kind of dread the first couple days of my one like introductory Excel and programming course because it's the first
Oh
time
God,
students
that
have ever
sounds
had me.
horrible. Sorry,
Right.
I'm sure
And I'm
it's
like,
great.
here's the CIS, let's talk about Excel. Okay. Like, and
Woo
I
woo,
was like, I
Excel.
could just, what if because I know they're going to get comfortable with me eventually.
Yep.
And by the time that we're like 5 weeks in and I have them break into groups to come up with questions to like talk about this algorithm to get a like person from point A to point B in this maze,
Yep.
they're fine. They're talking to each other. They're coming up with very funny questions. But like that first couple of weeks is like a little bit of a struggle. I don't know them. They don't know me. I hate icebreakers.
Oh,
I
they're the
will not
worst. Yes.
like subject my students to an icebreaker because like I'm also not going to remember all of that stuff and I don't want to sit there through 26 people telling me what their favorite ice cream flavor
Oh
is.
God.
That's not but I was like what if I just turned my first day into a board game like what you did and I can have each of the different colors be their own category. I don't know if you did that on your
Yes,
board.
I did.
I was thinking like I can have one that's just like general course information, like
Oh.
from the course information sheet,
Yep.
one that's assignment policies. I can have one that's just going to be like introductory Excel stuff that they would use their like first packet for. Like I
Yep.
can give them a couple definitions, and then I can be like, "Where's the wrap text button? Like which group of like buttons is that
Oh.
in Excel?" So that way they're going through like that their notes, like they can go through
Oh,
the course
that's
information
fun.
get the stuff that I want. I can have one color that is like about them, like tell me what your favorite ice cream flavor is, so that way
Mm-hmm.
they can like chat with their group members, but it's not all about that. Um, and then I was like, now I need a prize, and I'm like, what if I just give them the rubber ducks early? It's like this is a class that I buy rubber ducks for. I just get a hundred
Ooh.
assorted rubber ducks, and I get to let them pick one because of rubber duck debugging, which is a thing. I don't know if you know about
I don't know
that.
what you're talking
So
about now.
yeah, sorry.
No, it's
It's
okay.
something that like computer programmers do because talking and explaining something activates a different part of your brain than just trying to read something,
Sure.
right? When there's something wrong in their code, they have to debug it. And rather than just trying to scroll through the code and find what the problem is, if you talk out loud and try to explain it to a rubber duck, then like you
Wow.
will more likely find where your problem is. And this is something that works enough that it's called rubber duck debugging. And this is a widely known thing among people who do computer programming. So I explain that to my students and I'm like, explain it to your rubber duck. Keep your friends. Like, don't try and explain stuff to your friends because they will run away from you. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's what the
Mm-hmm.
rubber duck is for.
It's very
But
true.
they hold on to those rubber ducks. And those can be the pieces that I have them move around the board. I can give them a
Exactly.
rubber duck.
Exactly. So I think one of the things that made it fun is I had one of my kids design some of the questions too. Um,
Hmm.
and so she asked like some things that were like pop culture. Like, for example, I think when we did it, like the Chrisleys had just gotten pardoned, and there's, you know, reality stars that were sent home from jail. So we asked about that, and in like the very serious section on literature, she had like a Twilight question. Like I feel like she had a Taylor Swift question. She asked who Simone Biles's husband was, because it was like a play on the fact that like that someone, I don't know, it doesn't matter, it was a big social media
That's
thing about.
those are wild questions for you to bring to a group of people in the like 40s and 50s.
Exactly, which is possibly why it didn't go that great in terms of like
Yeah, that's
people
fair.
finishing. But then, here's the thing. So they ran out of cards at some point because they didn't get
Yeah.
a lot of things right. And they're like, what do we do? And I'm like, use the same cards, because presumably you'll remember them, because we like just did this. And some of them,
Retrieving.
yes, but some of them did not remember, which was actually really funny to see, because we work with highly educated people who could not remember who the three characters in the Twilight love triangle were that they had just talked about 10 minutes ago. Also, we had like AVPs there, and there was something hilarious about watching an AVP try to remember the Twilight love triangle. I'm not gonna lie.
That is very fun.
It was very fun. But yeah, so I did some research. So I feel like I've backed my way into educational research for sure, over the years, and a lot of what I have done as a teacher, I've just backed into kind of instinctively. Like, something is fun for me, so I assume it'll be fun for other people. Like, I'm not so unique. Right?
There's at least
Right?
a subset of people that will find it
That's
fun.
right. People seem to like crap I do. Let's try this, right? So, so I've been doing elements of play in the classroom and just not being super serious, in different, to the chagrin of some of our colleagues, I will say. Some of our colleagues struggle with my unseriousness, as Isabel calls it. But the research actually supports the use of play in the classroom. And so I will just share some reasons why, if you're cool.
Yeah, please do.
Cool. So it builds a sense of relational safety and a warm, inclusive environment, which I think are some of the things we've been talking about. One researcher, Forbes, in 2021 called it a form of self-care that you can do in the classroom, which I think is really interesting. When you think about some of our allied health programs where the students are super stressed out, the faculty are often stressed out, because they feel like they have this outside accrediting body and they have all of these very specific course outcomes that they need to have covered. But play is relaxing, it reduces stress, it balances seriousness. What were you gonna say?
It's like that thing where when like if you try to make yourself laugh, like if you fake laugh, like you will end up laughing for real.
Yes.
Like it just like induces that sense of like joy, and like that
Yes.
kind of melts the stress away. Yeah.
Well, that's actually, in a couple studies by James and Narazanti and Witten and Mosley, they found that play increases joy, it increases motivation to sustain engagement. So that's an important thing. We talked about connection between students, but being able to sustain engagement because you have built that buy-in with students, so that when you do get to course material that's hard, they are more willing to stick it out, because they're more fully engaged with you, with your class, with their classmates.
And I think it would be a little bit restorative in that way too, like in terms of like we probably have, well, I know we have students coming in with math trauma from K through 12, like who doesn't have math trauma, like who isn't traumatized by the
Right?
K through 12 system in one way or another.
Amen.
And like just to kind of be like, hey, it's okay. Like we can have a little bit of fun.
Not
It's
everything.
it's nice.
Yeah. And so then the last bit by Forbes was that he said that the professor embodies and models playfulness, vulnerability, humility, authenticity, and unconditional positive regard. So I think those are really important things to model to students. That being a professor doesn't mean you have to be like one certain way. And I think that for a long time. I think women especially, I'm not sure if this is true for other groups, but I'll say that there is me as a young woman going into teaching, I felt like I had to put myself as this authority figure as I was in control. I was, to be respected. I had some stuff within myself that I just kind of had to get over and let go of. And I'm sure that people from other groups probably have felt differently, similarly over time. It's just landed. Would you
Oh, I
agree?
don't
I
know.
mean, no.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I agree. I think that I struggle sometimes, like being my full self in the classroom, because like I know there are some people out there who don't necessarily have pro LGBTQ feelings. So it's like it's tough to try and be like fun in the classroom because that's just part of who I am. It doesn't have to do with anything else, right? And like
Yeah.
just thinking about the image that I come across as in the classroom. So I think that's fair to be concerned about that.
But I can see that like people who feel like they have to prove their the their worth in being there. Like
Hmm.
people who feel like they have to be
Work harder, overcompensate. Yeah.
exactly. Yes. Yes. I,
Yes, I get that. I do get that. You're not alone.
oh, I don't think I am. I think that people have it much harder than I do. As a
Yeah.
white woman, Chloe does this thing when I am minorly inconvenienced in a store or a restaurant where she will walk around saying loudly, "White woman in peril! White woman in peril!" And it helps me to not take myself so seriously, but she's right. I wanted to bring it back to something.
I don't even know. I don't even know how to handle that. That's wild. I love it so much.
um, it does help me realize sometimes that some of the things I'm getting worked up about are completely unimportant.
Right, unless there's a bunch of kids on a bus going over a bridge and Spider-Man's not
Exactly.
there to save them. There's no such thing as an educational emergency.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Um, so one of the things that came up in our last episode where you were talking about the development of students as humans and as learners, we talked
Hmm.
about the 6 aspects of significant learning by Defink, right?
Hmm.
Um, and we talked about how there's 6 things. 3 of them are like pretty are very sort of foundational to education, meaning
Like content
foundation.
based.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Content, application, and integration of concepts, right? That's what we've been doing in education for 100 years, right? Um, or more. So then the other 3 aspects, and I would argue that all of those things are things that AI will be teaching students very shortly, if not already. And not just
Ah,
students. Yeah, no, it's fine. Everything's fine. We have to do an episode on AI at some
yeah.
point.
White woman in peril.
White woman in peril. What about me? I'm sorry. Uh, oh my god. So the other 3 aspects of Fink's deep learning are caring. One is caring for your fellow students, your fellow people.
Hmm.
One is learning how to learn. And the other one is the human dimension. Like, can you see yourself connect with your community? Can you see how the content in a course impacts you as a person, impacts your community, impacts your global community?
Hmm.
And those things are not things like AI can certainly help students study for exams and things like that. But that human connection that keeps students engaged, I would argue that AI, at least at this point, um, it doesn't help with those things. You look like you're brewing something.
Well, to some extent, I feel like there's some AI out there that I don't want to talk about.
Oh. um anyway, so yeah, so I think that it
Do you,
gets
no, I like it. My thought is like there's a bunch of AI dating sims out there. Like that's just what I say. Yeah, it's uncomfy. It's uncomfy.
Ooh,
I would definitely argue that the human connection is better than that, though.
I hope so. I hope people always
Yeah.
think that way.
And actually, the stuff that you've been talking about in terms of like human learning and like learning through play, like makes me think about just the way that things are when you're growing up, like when you're a
Mm-hmm.
child, like you're going through and you're learning and experiencing the world, right, through joy and play. And
Yes.
like that's how you learn stuff. And just like think about any kid and how curious they are about everything, right? And
Yes.
how do we bring that back
That
to our students?
yes. Yes. Joy and curiosity and engagement. Because
Hmm.
that looks like part of that like dies as part of your enculturation in K-12 and just in growing up, I think.
Right. This is how you must behave.
That's right. That's right.
Hmm.
Um so the last piece I want to say is just that those all those positive feelings that you can generate in a class prior to doing something hard, you can kind of funnel that all that positive energy. And it's been shown to increase levels of motivation for starting and for completing like more arduous tasks. um,
Hmm.
but I would also argue the play doesn't necessarily have to be connected to content. It can be. So like I think play for the sake of play is also kind of important too, if you think about that
Yeah.
developmental model for a child.
Yeah, I agree. I think play for the sake of play does all of the stuff that you're talking about. It doesn't necessarily need to advance content knowledge, but it's still making students feel comfortable in the classroom environment, comfortable with you, getting to know their peers, connecting to everybody else as a human being, and want to come back, right? Because they're
Exactly.
associating your classroom with like a positive, they have a positive relationship with your classroom, right?
Yes.
It doesn't, they don't have to have learned anything that day, right? But if they have a positive relationship with your classroom, they're going to come back and they're going to feel more comfortable in that space. They're going to be able to walk away from that space having learned more because their walls are down,
Yes, that's a
right?
good way to put it. So I don't think you have to play every day. I don't think, I mean you can. But like
All all play and no work makes Johnny overstimulated.
it
I
can.
don't know. I was
It
trying to do
can.
the opposite of all work and no play, but yeah.
um so there was this was a great example, and I'm going to read a long quote and I apologize, but it is like a good quote. So there was this online course that was a graduate level course, and it was in social work, so it in counseling, so it was a real heavy topic.
Serious, yeah.
Yes, very, very serious, very not playful. But the instructor intentionally infused play into all the modules and then had students answer surveys and open ended questions and things like that. And students overwhelmingly had this really positive experience. But there's this quote that was my favorite. So, again, this was a grad class, so you can't say that I have too much content for this. Like, this is a graduate level course. And the quote is, everything about grad school feels non-fun oriented. Extensive program it's so great. It's so great. Extensive program handbooks, performative quizzes, unnecessarily complex assignments, formidable grading, and attendance policies, all of which seem designed to discipline rather than educate. Loads and you can stop me if something like feels like important. Loads and loads of reading which is never discussed or applied in class, and so it feels removed
Mm.
from usefulness.
Yeah, oh gosh, this is like this is hitting
Yes.
for me. Yeah, I'm just thinking about when I was in grad school for physics and there's like, oh, there's this comprehensive exam which like is just a bunch of problems that the other professors wrote to just see if you can jump through enough hoops to prove
Yes.
yourself. Or like
Performative.
I know it's performative and like I also was taking a class my first year which was like class it was like a mechanics class, and I say mechanics and it's not working on your car mechanics, it's like
Yes.
motion and forces.
Important.
And it was taught by an astrophysics guy, so like everything was focused in like astronomy, and I that's
Wow.
how I know the average distance to the moon off the top of my head is 3.82 times 10 to the 8 meters,
Very
because I
important.
had to do it so many times. But
Wild.
then the exams would just be like not related to the textbook at all. Like the stuff from class would not be related to the textbook, and it was wild. Yeah, it's not, grad school is not designed to be fun.
No. All right. Play provided an uplifting break from the seriousness of all of this. My experience has shown the value of play and learning is not to be underestimated. The incorporation of a little levity and laugh has been life affirming in general, but has also
Mm.
felt useful for creating a spaciousness of learning that is palpable and palpably absent in other classes where the focus is more on performative quizzes and lengthy PowerPoint presentations.
Hmm.
I feel primed to learn when it's not quite so rigid a class environment. The spaciousness has been invaluable. And that is, I think, the common thread between our last podcast and this one.
Hmm.
The spaciousness, which is such a
Yeah,
gift.
it's true. And like that quote makes me think too about when I have students tell me like that if they're going to go to any class, they want it to be my class.
Yeah.
Like that's the one that they show up for. And I have students who are like that are always chronically late. Like I have a student, I had a student who I think didn't understand the concept of travel time. Like it's like, oh, I have a thing at 9. I can leave at 9 and I'll get there. And I'm like, that's not how that works. But like it was always just kind of, and he would try hard to be on time for my classes. And it was very fun. He walked in with crutches one time,
Oof.
and and it was late. He walked in late with crutches, and I just looked at him and I was like, you didn't need to come up with an excuse to come in late. like, you, like you could have just come in.
Just come
And he
in.
like laughed, and like everybody laughed, and it was just like such a comfortable environment that we could take a second to like joke about that and then get back to, doing second
Yes.
year engineering.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So yeah, I ended our workshop with just some examples of play that I've used in the classroom, but have you done anything that you think feels like play?
I Not for a while. I think back when I was in, I mean, I feel like I can create enough of a comfortable environment that I don't have to like bring out a Jeopardy game.
Mm-hmm.
I also don't know how to do Jeopardy with like physics.
So fair.
Like when it's like so based in math equations,
Mm-hmm.
like I could do stuff with concepts, but there's like not that much there that you can really pull on.
Yes.
But I had done something similar to it when I was in grad school, where I did like a whole like trivia based thing with my students, and I gave them all points which were completely arbitrary.
It
It was
sounds like that
just
old show. Anyway, the True Carrie show. Um,
hmm.
I play trivia. I used to play Jeopardy like routinely with students before an exam, and then I changed that because sometimes I think students benefit more from working with other people. So now I will
Hmm.
intersperse Jeopardy with trivia night review, where I put them in teams and they like talk to each other and they whisper and they write things down just like you would at trivia night at a bar, but there's no alcohol, which is not as fun, but still.
That was kind of the way that I did it, was more of the like the team trivia type based
That's very
thing.
fun. But you
Yeah.
do like, so one of the things that I found when I was doing research, you do like the egg drop challenge, or you did with the
I do that with
students.
my middle schoolers. Yeah. But I mean, I faculty advise some student groups where we do that stuff. Like we did like a whole like LGBTQ trivia Jeopardy
Mm-hmm.
thing. We do like in the engineering leadership council, we do a lot more play stuff. I like to alternate my student clubs, and I actually used to do this when I was running clubs as like an undergraduate student, like alternating stuff between like educational and fun. So like
Yes.
some of the fun stuff that we do would be like an egg drop, or we make catapults out of tongue depressors and try and launch a marshmallow
Wait,
into a bucket.
weren't you in like a pumpkin chucking contest or something last year?
Yep, that
That's
was one of the
fun.
competitions that the students did. It's fun. It's very fun.
Mm-hmm.
It was really fun when they launched it in the practice round to go for 200 feet, and they hit the sign for 200 feet
Oh,
like, and knocked
wow.
it down. Like they knocked it down in the practice round.
That's
It was very
awesome.
funny. I have that on video.
So I feel like that's play.
Yeah, I infuse that a lot more into the clubs, and like students will go to those because I'm the advisor and they know me from class, so like they show up to that
They
stuff.
know there will be tomfoolery and they are there for it. One of
Dr. Ben Foolery, yeah.
the I like that. Um So one of the things that I see on TikTok, which I haven't tried yet, but I'd like to try, is they have like Guess Who, and then they take out the faces of people in Guess Who, and they'll put in like I think you could do Guess Who with
Mm,
with like minerals, and be like, does
that
your
would be fun.
right like does your mineral
Whoa,
have?
that is actually, sorry, I'm
I know.
getting too excited about that because I see where that's going. I played that Magic School Bus geology game, but yeah, go
Oh, I
ahead.
didn't know that was a
You so,
thing.
well, it was when I was young, so like in the 90s. Please continue.
The 90s. So like, does your mineral have cleavage? No. Right? Like, does your mineral react to
You could
acid?
ask that. You could ask that in a regular Guess Who game too, I
Oh
guess.
my goodness. That's true. But like people play Guess Who with like their family members, which is hilarious, or they'll
Hmm.
play it with like I don't know. I don't want to be political, but
No, you're so
yes,
right.
right? Wouldn't that be fun?
I could see doing it with like famous scientists and stuff too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So there's stuff like that. So you and I, when in our institute, I made sure that there were like that after lunch we had 10 minutes of fun, which is a holdover from Gina Merlis that she used to use and I thought was brilliant. Um,
Hmm.
so like we one day had them play ring toss and they totally friggin' cheated because they like found a loophole in the rules, which like whatever. But
Wait, so you didn't want them to do that?
no, they were just supposed to play like
Okay.
regular ring toss. I've had students do that. It's so fun. Like
Yeah, so basically what happened when they went to go play ring toss is what were the rules that you told them exactly? Do you remember?
the rules were
Like you
like the different size rings were different number of points, and we were gonna play
Yep.
for a few minutes. And they were like, and those
You
are the
had to
only
toss
rules.
them.
Yeah.
You had to
Oh
toss them
yes,
from behind the line.
yes.
And that was it. That was the only rule. So basically, they had one person on the team go stand next to the graduated cylinder that we were trying to put the hoops on, catch them, and put them on. So they were being tossed from behind the
They
line.
absolutely
Then
were.
somebody was setting them on the graduated cylinder, and I was like, that is not what I thought was going to happen. And then you were just like going along with it so well that I thought that that was something that you had expected, and it's wild that it wasn't.
Not at all. I was like, you're cheating, and then the group that started the cheating didn't win, so I felt like karma had worked its magic. But it's fun to watch students do this because they have to like organize themselves and they don't really know each other. But like one person is like, I'm bad at ring toss, so they become like the person who brings all the rings
Hmm.
back. And like you see kids who don't say anything in class, like cheering or like I don't know. It's fun. It's fun to watch students do
Yeah.
that. I've done it with faculty and students with like straws with tape. I have them build straw towers. And the last time I did that, they cheated too. I will say my students in my geology of the national parks class, they started building it. They started taping the straws to the ceiling and then building downward to the table that they were supposed to build up from, which was very clever and not the point. But it was funny. It was funny. It was worth it for the
Yeah.
lols, as the kids don't say anymore.
We do marshmallow spaghetti towers in the
Oh,
Engineering Leadership Council.
very
So you can
fun.
deal with marshmallows and spaghetti, uncooked spaghetti.
Very important. That's an important key.
Yeah,
So the point is you
yeah.
can do these things, a lot of them in like 5 or 10 minutes. And so in terms of like investment of time, very small. Like a straw tower, 7 minutes tops for the whole thing.
Hmm.
But the energy you get back is like tenfold. And then the
Hmm.
equity that you buy and the social capital that you buy with students, priceless, as the commercials that you're probably too young to remember used to say.
Mastercard.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Good. Good. Good.
Yeah, yeah. They still do them.
Do they?
Yeah, I think they're sparser,
Okay.
more sparse.
So I said all this stuff, and then one of the nurses, I like read about people putting together escape rooms, and I was like, well, that's too much for
Hmm.
me. But the nurses actually do that. Like they're pretty awesome. So our nurses have they've built escape rooms for the students, which I think is super fun.
Based on like anatomy or something?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Which is wild. Or like tools, I think, in like their labs
Mm.
too, and it was fun. Um, so I have one other example that so years ago, actually maybe it was just 2 years ago, we took students to our field geology class. And we have this assignment that they have to do when they're out in the field. And it's for a variety of reasons. But basically, we have an Instagram page. And I'm sorry.
Oh, yes.
Yes. So
Yeah.
we have the students, while they're out there, they learn to keep a field notebook and take good field notes. And the assignment is that they all get access to the Instagram page. Oh, and so if you're looking for this, by the way, on Instagram, it's Monroe_CC_geology. And
I'll put it in the show notes if you send
awesome.
it to me.
Thank you. And so they have to write up a scientific description of something they see on Instagram. So it helps their families know that they're like fine when they're out here and see a little bit of what they're doing. It also is a way to communicate with the college community that like this is what it looks like to do geology in the field. And the last time we did it, Veronica from marketing was like, hey, do you think you could get our mascot Tiberius in some of these pictures? And we were like, well, do you have like a doll or anything? And she's like, I don't know. And we have no dolls. There's no dolls of Tiberius, our tribune, our Roman tribune, our Roman soldier. So what we ended up doing was our secretary, Glenna, printed out a picture of Tiberius on like cardstock, and we cut him out. And it was funny because I was like, this is so cheeseball. Like, this is redonkulous. But the funny thing is that and we asked the students to make sure Tiberius was in pictures every day. And they freaking like loved it. They would like be like, I get custody of Tiberius today, and they would post pictures of Tiberius. And then there were formal pictures of Tiberius and then informal pictures of Tiberius where like I think there's like a Temple Butte formation, but Tiberius like covered up the E in Butte, so it said Temple Butt. And like just wild things. Like our student Faith referred to him as our beloved son in like a post.
So good.
And then
I do feel like that's something that I would also be like, this is stupid about, but then get into like really like I feel like that's something that then you would just get into because you're like, this is stupid. I'm gonna do it ironically, but actually now this is kind of fun.
That's what happened. So the part that didn't make it to Instagram but is in like
the butt part.
Text messages somewhere. Yes, or text messages somewhere. So our last day of our trip, we flew in and out of Las Vegas. And so the last day of the trip, 2 of our students had custody of Tiberius that evening in Vegas. And there are pictures of Tiberius on the Vegas Strip that will never, ever show up on our Instagram account. But Tiberius, there's pictures of him with like the cast of the Thunder from Down Under. Like, it is ridiculous and hilarious, and it was fun. It like made them really excited to do some scientific writing and to just have fun with something that was like homework. Basically, they had a good time with it. But yeah,
that's awesome.
It was fun. So in summary, you can't have fun all the time, but if you can find moments to have fun, I would encourage it. I think that there's so much anxiety and seriousness in the world that we live in that it's nice to have a respite from that and to just like be a full person now and then.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking if there's ways that I can make this work in a physics class or talk with somebody and make it work in a math class, like anybody could figure out how to do this in any classroom.
Exactly.
Because it doesn't have to be about content, like either, like what you were saying.
Yeah. So anyway, that was my talk for, was it June? We did it in June.
Yeah.
That was a good time. So I did, by the way, have a second game planned that we never got to because the first one took so long. It's fine. I'll play it at another time.
I actually thought you were going to start this episode with like, I have a game for you, and we were going to do a little thing at the beginning.
That sounds like the beginning of a horror movie. Like,
That's fair. Do you want to play a game?
exactly. What movie is that from? What was that?
Do you not know?
No, is it Saw? I can't remember.
It is Saw.
Okay,
It's
good.
Saw. It's Saw.
Ooh, almost had my cool card revoked right there.
What was your other game?
I don't even remember, which is problematic.
What a great way to end this episode. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for joining us, guys. Don't forget to send us your your questions and emails at coffeebreakclassroom@gmail.com. Okay, bye.